register for Georgia, a freshman, you are set with an upperclassman. I don't remember why.
Big brother, big sister.
And he was the one that interviewed me. And he actually told me I should join Geneva. I should travel for Genevans.
Having never heard you sing.
Anyway, that's how we met.
Then she worked in the bookstore too.
Oh yeah, we both worked in the bookstore. But there was a period of time, well, I was afraid of everybody. But I didn't.
Afraid of what? Oh,
I mean, I was pretty shy.
we don't believe that anymore. We saw your high school yearbook. Glee club, class president, basketball team.
My hours were from 8 to 9:30, first class on Tuesday and Thursday. Well, the bookstore didn't open until 8:30. Well, I didn't know, nobody told me that. And the door was shut and it was locked, so I just went in the lounge across the hall and waited for it to open, and then I found out later I was supposed to be at work
Before it opened.
before it opened. Get things
Slacker.
ready.
And
And, well, she's eating her ice cream.
Dad, you fill in the
Dad
blanks.
can fill in
Do
the
you remember Stuart Lee?
Yeah.
He used to work in the bookstore when he was a student there.
Oh,
I worked under him some. With him, I don't guess under.
Yeah, we were inside at the same hours, and then when he was having to do all the work because I wasn't there.
So where was your first date?
Oh, I don't remember.
Well, we didn't, after I left Geneva, when I went to work, my first day at work, two major things happened. I had my first really sick migraine headache. And he called me for a date. I had wanted to go out with him
Which
for
one
2
came
years.
first?
Which was better?
That was the first
She had
time.
the headache after I asked her for a date.
The headache.
Not tonight, I have a headache.
Where'd you go?
I don't remember.
I don't remember where we
Probably
went.
somewhere that didn't cost any money because they
Wade's
weren't
ice cream?
spending money.
Wade's ice
Might have
cream.
eaten there.
Yeah, it might have been. We probably, no, it was at your house.
Oh, yeah,
my
ate
goodness.
at my house.
We got
Come home and meet
something.
my mom.
Took it to your house.
Save money.
Yeah, we'd spent a lot of evenings
So
there.
were you surprised when he called?
I was totally surprised because I don't know if anybody ever heard of Ceola Velasquez. She was married to Armour McFarlane.
Oh, okay, I know her then. Yeah, yeah.
She was a good friend. She lived on the third floor of her dorm. And everybody knew that she wanted to go out with John Tweed.
I didn't know it.
I was pretty sure Dad didn't know that.
All the girls knew it. She didn't make any secret of it. And then finally one day she said, I give up. You can have him.
A lot of people said that.
You were just a piece of meat, Dad.
So, I don't know why you didn't ask me out until you were in seminary
Yeah, I guess that's right.
and I was working.
I always thought it was
We
earlier.
had Halloween parties at the seminary in those days. I wouldn't do that now, but you did then.
Well, it was a
Basement was
creepy
unfinished, and we had a lot of stuff rigged up. We had got a casket, and Ray Joseph.
But that was on the balcony on the second floor, on the stairway up to the second floor. We'll go ahead and tell
Well,
them.
anyway, Ray Joseph was willing to paint his face white and lie in the casket, and we got a white mouse, and we tied this white mouse.
A real one?
Yeah, and it was running around.
On him?
It was
Yeah.
tied to a button.
He was going with Alice, and Alice,
Joseph,
her name was
Alice
Smith then,
yeah.
and she almost fainted when she saw him.
These are the pillars of the church right now.
But they had
No more.
a circle down
We don't
in
wonder anymore
the
why.
basement, and it was dark, and they had us all hang on to this wire string. And then they did this creepy story. They passed around peeled grapes and about the ghost in his eyes and his entrails and all that. And at the end, they sent an electric shock through this wire. And I about died. My dad used to make me go out and test the wire to see if the electricity.
Hey, Alta, is this on?
That was everybody's least favorite job.
We got an luminous ping pong ball and played ping pong in the dark too.
It didn't work too well,
No.
but it was.
Good thing you guys were such good electricians, knowing exactly how much voltage to put through this line. They will let go. If they don't count to 10 and then pry them off
But that building was an ideal place for that kind of a party.
for a haunted house.
Played a lot of sardines in that basement.
You know, they don't do Halloween now.
No,
They've
some of them are
matured.
so upset when they hear us that we do Halloween.
Okay, I got a story. I want you to tell the story of when you were in Scotland and you came home. What that was like.
Oh, as a boy.
Yeah, when you were a little boy and you guys were evacuated from Scotland, you had to come back to the States.
Oh, we came back. We came back on a U.S. liner air boat, and it was Washington, USS Washington, and we had American food, which we had ice water at every meal, which you don't get in Scotland. You didn't then, and
Do you want coffee?
they had an American flag
Whole or half?
painted on the side of both sides of the ship with floodlighted at night because we weren't in the war yet. But UK was in the war. Well, one night we had an air raid siren go off, and we weren't supposed to look out the windows when you have a air raid siren. We had
So what's
them
the first
covered
thing
with
they did?
black velvet, but we did look out, and they had searchlights like they have in the Hollywood premieres. They had those all over the city of Glasgow, and they were going all over the sky. And then finally, they focused on a German aircraft. It was reconnaissance, and we heard later that the RAF shot it down the next day. But we didn't have any air raids. But after we left, the John Brown shipyards are in Glasgow. And that's where they built the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, and they built a lot of troop ships there. And so it was bombed, except that they didn't hit the shipyard as much as they hit homes around it. There's a slum area around there, and a lot of people were killed. But it took us about 7 days to get back on the ship to New York. And one night the crew saw a German submarine, they said, about 4 o'clock in the morning. But it didn't do anything because we weren't in the war yet.
What year was that then?
And we had to sleep, men had to sleep in the swimming pool area. They had the swimming pool all boarded over and a lot of bunks in there. They had 700 people on board, more than the ship was supposed to hold. The women slept in the post office area. They had that all protected. And we had some storms. Because one night you could hear the propellers when the back would get out of the water. But we got there okay.
How many days did it take you?
7 days about.
Do you remember feeling scared? I mean, do you remember being?
Yeah, I remember
being
getting
scared?
seasick with that when that storm. But
And how old were you?
8, 9.
Wow.
So it would have been 1940? Or
Yeah,
1930?
40. We got into the 141 and it was 40 before. Ed Moore, one of Father's roommates in college, met us in New York. He had a lot of money. He owned a 1,000-acre ranch out in Hemet. And he had a Buick, first time I'd ever seen a Buick. And he took us across country. He took us to his place. And later we went to his wife's place. She owned a house in La Jolla, which is a really expensive suburb.
I got San Diego.
And it's right on the beach. She had a really nice place. But then we heard later she turned to the Mormon faith. And I guess Mormons got it, I don't know.
But we visited her when we were in.
Yeah, before she went to the Mormons.
We
so
had
visited her.
two kids were little, and she had little knickknacks all over the house. So I grabbed hold of the kids and I held on to them the whole time.
You trust them?
La Jolla is
I
the
guess
only.
that's
Not
why
a
Carol
bit.
gets as many knickknacks now. She,
La Jolla is the only.
Just make it up for it.
La Jolla is the only place where I saw a double garage with 2 Rolls Royces in it.
Wow.
I remember those older Buicks. Man, the bumpers were enough to
Huge.
knock
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
more knocks.
So how'd you like La Jolla, Carol?
Ed Moore always liked my
my
sister. He didn't treat Bob and I very well, but he always gave a lot of money to my sister, and we were always jealous.
You just gave her money?
Oh yeah, he gave her money, and then he helped to build. He paid for the addition on the second floor of our house there, and he bought her a kilt. She did the Highland Fling dance, you know,
Oh, yeah, sure I know.
and
I didn't
Bob
know
and
she
I
could do
didn't go
that.
much for that. We didn't treat her very well.
Allison met Hugh while you were in Scotland,
Yeah.
right? And then they wrote letters.
There were letters.
Stuart, you remember we heard the coyotes last night?
Yeah.
A couple of buzzards circling.
Oh, yeah.
So Dad, when I was getting coffee, did you tell him about taking your gas mask to school when you were in Scotland?
Yeah, we had to carry gas masks. We didn't wear them. We had to carry them.
They were in a box on a string, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, but it sounded like.
Did your mom make
They're
blackout
pops,
curtains?
Like the adults.
Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Well,
She
you
would have
said
had to though.
You
Well,
said
they
You
did.
peeked out of the curtain.
You
weren't
said
supposed to.
that you had to have curtains, dark curtains in your, because
Yeah.
Grandpa was supposed to come home.
My
and he
father
didn't.
had to make calls. He didn't have a car, but all the cars had headlights with just little crosses on them, because they wouldn't allow the people to show headlights. And of course, the German planes flew a lot lower in those days, so they were
All the
really.
planes flew low.
If you let any light out through your window, you'd get a guy would come and tell you about it the first time. And the second time you'd be fined.
Did you have a shelter to go to in the case of an air raid?
We didn't have a shelter, no. I don't think we did anyway. But we lived in one room just about. We had to be real careful about heat. Our house had some central heating, but no, it didn't. It just had a fireplace and the kind of the kitchen living room. That's where we lived mostly. Temperature upstairs was about 45 degrees.
That'd be cool.
When I got scarlet fever,
I didn't know that.
yeah, and the hospital was, they really took it seriously in those days. Now it doesn't mean much, but I was in the hospital 3 weeks. And my father had to take the bus, a couple of buses, different kind of buses to see me, but he was there almost every day,
Really?
you know.
That's kind of cool.
My brother and 2 sisters got scarlet fever right after we moved to Denison. I never got it, but I had to take care of them.
Which ones?
Twyla and Dale. I don't know if it was either Carl or Della, of the little ones. But I had to boil all their utensils and I had to wash their sheets and blankets every day. I was wishing I'd get scarlet fever.
Have to work so
So
hard.
somebody'd have to take care of me.
What do I gotta do to get something around here?
Well,
Oh, sorry.
son-in-laws were still in school too, but they were in high school, so they got to go and live with somebody else during the time, so they didn't have to take care of anybody.
So they wouldn't get sick.
Right.
The lucky ones.
But we lived through it,
You said that.
and I never got the scarlet fever. Took care of them every day, fed them, washed their dishes.
I don't think they think that's very much of a serious disease now,
Well, actually, Nathan got it once.
did he?
He took him to the doctor, and he had diagnosed with strep throat. So then he got home, and then Nathan just had a rash that night all over everything. And I looked in my little medical book, and that's what scarlet fever is. So I made you call the pediatrician back and said, I think our son has scarlet fever.
We
He
had a
said,
church
Scarlet
about,
fever is strep throat with a rash. Take antibiotic.
Well, then it was,
I didn't know
it was when they,
You probably didn't have the antibiotic then.
yeah, you were quarantined.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
probably didn't have the antibiotic then.
No, and
And now they
I
just give-
couldn't go to school because I lived there.
Yeah.
That's why Fern and Lois got to live in town, because they were in high school.
the church in Glasgow, our church had about 200 members, and only one family had a car. This guy owned an optical company, and once in a while he'd let us ride in his car, and man, that was really a treat. But we'd always ride streetcars to church, double decker. We'd always want to get up to the top. And then most everybody rode public transportation.
I remember when Pittsburgh had streetcars.
They have one of their streetcars in the Heinz
No, I don't
Museum.
mean Pittsburgh, I mean Kansas City.
Well, Pittsburgh had them too.
Yeah, but I
Cars now.
Wilkinsburg had those streetcar tracks, and they were such a hassle.
Yeah, you don't wanna drive on them.
Cobblestone and
He had several surgeries on his ear and around his ear. And I remember we'd go once in a while to the streetcar to visit him. Cost a nickel. For the distance we rode, I don't know how far we rode. We'd park somewhere and then ride a streetcar to the hospital.
Dad, you said you remembered the evacuation of Dunkirk. You remember that time?
Yeah, remember Churchill making a speech about that. They were asking for boats. Anybody who had a boat, even just a rowboat, they wanted that. And I guess somehow there was a fog that night, and a lot of the British soldiers were saved because of the fog. The Germans couldn't bomb through the fog; they couldn't see anything. But I remember Churchill giving speeches.
Did you get him on a radio? Did you have a
Yeah.
radio?
You know, he really brought England through that.
He did.
That movie was pretty good about Dunkirk.
He was
I haven't seen
amazing.
Yeah, it was about these just average guys bringing their boats, their fishing boats, and saving thousands of people, at least hundreds.
Oh yeah.
Oh, tens of thousands.
Tens of
Tens of thousands. Of
There's a book by
They told a story about Churchill. He was at a party one night, and this lady came up to him and he said, "Mr. Churchill, you're drunk." He said, "Madam, you're ugly. When I wake up in the morning, I'll be sober. When you wake up, you'll still be ugly."
You gotta love that.
I don't know whether that ever happened or not.
That's pretty good.
A classy guy.
I was going to say the book about Dunkirk is way better than the movie.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Well, we're just gonna take your word for that.
I know. You're never going to read it.
Yeah. Send
I'm pretty sure it's on audiobook somewhere.
Send me the link or send me the book.
I will. It's very good. You know, he was a painter in his leisure time. He painted, and he was actually supposedly pretty good. When he died, I think his wife burned most of his paintings.
Oh, she did.
I don't remember the whole story, but I remember it was on, if you watch The Crown.
Yeah,
I was
It was
trying
on
to
one of
think
the
where I saw
episodes
it.
there.
Yeah, I know that he burned that show, The Crown. He burned his
he was
own.
not a very nice
picture.
man.
Well, he didn't
Because
like.
He didn't like his
yeah.
own picture. He burned it.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the lady he called ugly. Was his wife. She burned all his paintings.
You look like you were hungry, dear.
Did you ever know anyone who had polio?
Yeah, I think maybe he had.
I've read an
Very
article.
frequently ran out of gas.
Yeah, which
I would say
time?
the tank's
We're on the
getting
way
in.
to
He said there'll be a gas station
conference,
over the next
and
hill.
we had Alan with us. And,
You were-
Just Alan,
He
or
was a
were the
baby.
rest
Well,
of
he
them?
was a
You drunk you
baby.
guys off in somewhere else.
And
We were in the desert.
So I hitchhiked. I tried to hitchhike. Nobody stopped.
You tried
So-
to hitchhike?
You
hitchhiked?
He
I
got
tried
up.
to.
tried.
But nobody stopped. So we got Alan. I held him. Or you held
I
him.
held him out
Out in the
in
road
front
and
of the
Alan,
finally-
act like you have asthma real bad.
Was that like into my chin? Gasping for air?
This car stopped.
In the middle of the road.
This car stopped and it was two Roman Catholic sisters. And she asked what we needed, and I said we need to get into town and get some gasoline. About maybe 5 miles. So they said, we'll take you. So they took us into town.
They
They
took
wanted to
you
know
into
where we were
town.
going, and we talked all about the conference. I don't know whether we witnessed to or not, but Anyway,
Let's just say you did.
she stopped at the gas station
Yours sounds better.
and we got a gallon of gas.
A gallon.
And I said, I'll hitchhike back. And she said, no, we'll take you back. And then when they did that, then I wanted to pay them, and she said, no, you just do this for somebody else.
So you left Mom and I on the side of the road?
Yeah, no, I took, yeah.
No,
But we had
yes.
you out in the
I
front.
was in the car, we got in the car.
You were in the front seat, Alan.
So where were
Don't
we?
worry about it.
Where were we in this whole?
Yeah, we're,
Yeah, we're in the rest
where
of
were,
us.
where were us?
Kids.
What's with Alan?
I don't know.
I think
That's one thing that they forgot.
Ran around in the desert.
I just kept
The
thinking
last
it was
gas
going to
station
be
they were
a
at.
service
Go find
station
water.
ahead of us, so I didn't stop.
You must have been in the car. But
We were
the
so
reason-
quiet and so good.
They would have been
You want
older
me to
and stayed.
concur, or
But you were a baby.
Okay, I was in the car.
We
you
thought
just weren't
some-
cute enough to flag down anyone.
We were older. I was like 3 or 4, so we were plenty old enough to stand around.
We were old enough to babysit.
You were in the trunk.
I was babysitting.
It was just that we thought it would generate more sympathy if people would stop if I got out and held the baby.
So they were in the car.
They were in the car.
We were a family.
Yes,
Okay.
we were all
You
there.
just used the infant.
They
Should've had us
were in
all
the
out
car
there.
in the desert
You were a
with the windows
tool.
rolled up.
That'd be fine.
I was afraid somebody'd run out in the road.
That would be.
You were exploited.
I was. I'm starting to feel like that.
Well, not as bad as the time we left on vacation and left Alan in that net in the front room.
In the where? Wait,
Oh,
what?
and you left?
When I started off on vacation, I had gotten him all dressed so that he was ready. And hooked
That's
him
good.
and
That's a good start.
created
This
his
when I was
vest and
12.
his pants. Put him in the bassinet while we got everything else
bassinet?
ready last minute. Got in the car. We drove, we got around the block, and I said,
Count the kids, honey, count the kids.
That was the first Home Alone.
I looked in the back, expecting to see the baby in the bassinet, and you weren't there.
We did go back.
I was calling for you.
Have you noticed how often when we leave on a trip, we go a block or two and we've forgotten something, so we'd end up. Our neighbors got to say that they'll be back.
Turn around. Bible.
No, our neighbors had gotten to the place where they say, well, they'll be back.
It sounds like your kids got to the place too. Now they'll be back. Surely they'll notice they forgot me.
We were over yesterday, we started over to Cindy's and we forgot
Well, I
something.
forgot the Bible this morning.
What was that?
At least you're consistent.
Rodney Dangerfield said, when I was a kid, we'd go play hide and seek. He'd tell me to go hide and they wouldn't seek.
He said I got my kid a bow and arrow for his birthday. He got me a shirt with a target on it. He said this girl called me and she said, come on over, no one's home. So I went over, nobody's home. He went in McDonald's and they said, you don't deserve a break today.
You did have some good comedians in your day.
They did have some good comedians.
Bob Hope.
Does anybody remember Mrs. Polk?
Oh, yeah.
I have a picture of her in my room.
I have.
She wanted to go with us to see that movie. I don't think she'd
This
ever
car
been to a
stopped
movie.
and I saw the car down in the gully. So they went down and Jimmy Durante was the one in there, almost got hurt. And he talked about this $200,000 thing that they were
Then he kicked the
could find
bucket,
if they wanted to.
literally.
And he was talking, and then he just dropped over and looked like he was dead. But then he came back to life again, and he was talking again, and the next time he kicked the bucket, and it rolled down. The other guy said, boy, he's really dead now.
It was this odd show.
That guy had a nose and a half.
Yeah, he did. But I think they had every comedian from that time.